Hello guys, welcome to Study IQ. Today we are going to have a very interesting discussion, and before I begin the discussion, I'd like to tell all my viewers, all the aspirants who are watching this, to have an objective mindset about this particular discussion, right? So we are going to answer one particular question. Look at the heading here. Is Modi India's weakest prime minister? Right? So we're going to talk about this. Again, from which perspective we are going to gauge him on the parameter of popularity, especially among poor people. So try to have an objective thought process here. I'm not talking about from the voting perspective or the mandate perspective. We all know that the BJP and Narendra Modi have a huge mandate from people in 2014 also and in 2019 also. So it's not in terms of votes. It's, I'd say, in terms of how a person or how a leader connects with poor people. That is the parameter on which we are gauging. And in this particular video, we are going to talk about how prime ministers in India have been popular, or I'd say unpopular, right? So let's try to understand what has happened in the past 74 years and come back to the discussion of Narendra Modi and ask the question, is he the weakest Prime Minister of India? Let's begin the discussion. I am your friend Rahul Saigonkar. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on the IDs that are given here. You can follow me on the ID Rahul Sai 222. If you have any queries, if you want to connect with me, you can directly message me on Instagram. And if you're preparing for UPSC Civil Services examination, you have a golden opportunity to prepare from home safely. Just subscribe to our smart course. Just visit studyiq.com or download the app from Google Play Store to know more about this. Now, again, let me just tell you how we are going to compare the prime ministers of India till now. The Indian prime ministers who do not improve the status of ordinary people, ordinary Indians, they are normally forgotten. They do not get etched in the memory of people. So they do not become very popular. That is a statement with which I am starting, and I'm trying to understand different prime ministers. So let's try to understand how India's former prime ministers have fared. What has been their legacy? Have they done well in terms of improving the status of poor in India, status of marginalized in India in the past 74 years? So we'll try to analyze all the prime ministers, and then we'll eventually talk about Narendra Modi and what would be his legacy, or rather the forecast of what would be his legacy probably 2 or 3 decades down the line. Right. Let's talk about Indian prime ministers. We all know that India has seen many prime ministers. Initially, there was a Congress system. We have seen 4 prime ministers in the Congress system. We have seen Jawaharlal Nehru, we have seen Lal Bahadur Shastri, Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi. In between, there was a period of Janata Party coalition era, which I am not discussing here right now. But then came the coalition era, and in the coalition era, we have many other prime ministers. Let's first talk about Jawaharlal Nehru. Right. So Jawaharlal Nehru as a prime minister, if we ask a question to ourselves, has he been really popular among the poor people in India? I'd say the answer would be no. The reason behind this is the perception among people with respect to Jawaharlal Nehru's personal life. He lived a lavish life. Although he was a statesman, he was connected to the Indian freedom struggle. He has a great legacy of giving India the secular picture, secular color, and taking India through that infant stage. Right? He has been the prime minister who has governed India for 2 full terms, a little more than 2 full terms also. But nonetheless, when people remember Jawaharlal Nehru, they would not remember him in a very popular sense. There are many things which are connected with Jawaharlal Nehru which have been highly contentious. First of all, I told his own lifestyle, right? Apart from that, the first Constitutional Amendment Act itself is a question over his credentials, because the first Constitutional Amendment Act, what it did, it tried to take our freedom of speech and expression by putting reasonable restriction on individuals' freedom of speech and expression, right? Now, apart from that, the entire Hindu code issue, his misunderstanding with Baba Sahib Ambedkar, most infamous thing is his own handling of the China issue. His blind faith on the Chinese, it eventually led to a disastrous war in 1962 in which India lost badly. So because of all these things, I'd say Jawaharlal Nehru has been a little less popular among the poor people and majority of Indians, isn't it? Nonetheless, he has some legacy of taking India through that infant stage into the development era. But the next Prime Minister, Lal Bahadur Shastri, although I have not mentioned him here because his tenure was very short, his legacy has been the strengthening of Prime Minister's office, and probably I'd say he is more and more popular among the farmers of India because of his slogan Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, right? So in terms of popularity among poor, it was Lal Bahadur Shastri who actually gave a platform to the most popular Prime Minister of India, that is Indira Gandhi. He gave her the platform or the ground, the slogan of Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. His handling of 1965 war, the Tashkent Agreement, which led to his popularity and ultimately led to succession of Indira Gandhi also after his demise. Indira Gandhi cashed in on this. The Green Revolution was ushered in. Later on, Indira Gandhi, she became one of the most popular prime ministers in India. Now, I would say that many people might disagree here, because Indira Gandhi's tenure has been very controversial. On one hand, she has been highly popular. She has been hailed for some of the decisions she has taken, the strong-willed decisions that she took, bank nationalization, the Green Revolution, the abolition of Privy Purse, the 1971 war, liberation of Bangladesh. All those things led to popularity of Indira Gandhi. Now, even till today, if you go to a remote village where there is a hold of Indian National Congress, you ask who Indira Gandhi was, and people will remember. And perhaps I'd say that if you ask them who Rahul Gandhi is, they will remember him as the grandson of Indira Gandhi, and they might vote for him also, right? So that is the level of popularity which Indira Gandhi had. And I told you, yes, she was controversial. Controversial, why? Because of the emergency period from 1975 to 77, which is considered as a blot on Indian democracy. Nonetheless, if we talk about connect with poor people, I think perhaps Indira Gandhi is the most popular prime minister, because in 1980, she gave a slogan of Garibi Hatao, which connected with people. Before that also in 1972, at the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, she highlighted the issue of environment and poverty. Now, it was perhaps the first prime ministerial highlight on poverty alleviation, and even till today, we have that legacy going on, right? Right from Indira Gandhi's period, from 1980s, we have seen so many poverty alleviation programs in India. Even till today, we run the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, isn't it? So, pro-poor policies, it started with Indira Gandhi, and perhaps she was the most popular among the prime ministers. Yes, there have been some black marks, the emergency, the handling of Punjab issue, which eventually led to her assassination, that have been black marks on her career. But nonetheless, I would say she has been the most popular prime minister in India, most strong prime minister in India. What followed Indira Gandhi has been an era of weak prime ministers. Now, if we talk about Rajiv Gandhi, he was a reluctant prime minister, right? Who gained prime ministership purely because of the assassination of Indira Gandhi, and later on because of power vacuum, he became the prime minister. His handling of Sri Lanka issue is criticized, and the time period at which he became prime minister, it was tumultuous. India was going through the balance of payment issue. We were trying to liberalize slowly and steadily, which were rather impopular steps at that time, right? Rather highly unpopular also, right? So we talk about these prime ministers ushering in a new era. So Rajiv Gandhi's popularity, I'd say, was not very high. And after Rajiv Gandhi, the coalition prime ministers have been struggling to maintain that stronghold, have been struggling to hold on to this office of prime minister. If you look at this coalition era, there have been so many prime ministers. I have pinpointed here Atal Bihari Vajpayee and Manmohan Singh separately, because let us talk about the 21st century separately. But if I talk about this coalition era, we have seen VP Singh, we have seen PV Narasimha Rao, we have seen IK Gujral, Deve Gowda, then Atal Bihari Vajpayee's first regime also. And none of these prime ministers have been really, really strong. Overall, if I have to pick out some people who have left some legacy with poor people, I'd name VP Singh. Now, why VP Singh? Again, because of opening of the Pandora's box of Mandal Commission, now, which was taken forward by PV Narasimha Rao. Again, PV Narasimha Rao, I would say, has been the most underrated prime minister. It was during his tenure, some watershed moments took place in Indian politics. The Babri Masjid demolition took place. The LPG reforms took place. Mandal Commission implementation took place. Indira Shahani judgment came out at that time. 73rd, 74th constitutional amendments came out at that time. But none of these do really connect with people. pro-poor, I'd say, because the LPG reforms, they were projected as anti-poor, and because of which most of the prime ministers who have followed this policy of LPG reforms, they have been unpopular. Now, why? To a large extent, there is a testimony also to this, because right from 1991, if you ask any economist what kind of a growth India followed, they talk about a jobless growth, a non-inclusive growth, right? That is why most of the prime ministers have been unpopular. Now, if we talk about Atal Bihari Vajpayee, the first non-Congress prime minister to complete a tenure, right? He led the NDA government with 24 coalition partners. Many people say that he was a right person in a wrong party, right? Atal Bihari Vajpayee's time period has been a rather mixed bag. Now, if we talk about his popularity among NDA has already made him a stalwart. They have named many schemes after him. But I'd say Atal Bihari Vajpayee was a rather inconsistent leader. He was somewhere in the middle, not a rightist, not a centrist, but more of an appeaser, right? He did not criticize the Godhra incident completely. Now, if we talk about Babri Masjid, right, many people do remember LK Advani's vitriolic speech. But few people remember just a day before that, Atal Bihari Vajpayee also gave a very vitriolic speech in Lucknow one day before the demolition of Babri Masjid. Very few people remember this. That is why I'd say he has been a rather inconsistent leader, but nonetheless, credit is due where it is there. Atal Bihari Vajpayee took India into that phase when at the international level, we were going through a pariah status, mainly because of the nuclear testing that we did in 1998, and he took India through the tumultuous phase and ultimately brought stability into India. And if I talk about Manmohan Singh as the prime minister, very similar to how I said Indira Gandhi has been one of the popular and one of the strongest prime minister, I'd say the reverse for Manmohan Singh, because 10 years of Manmohan Singh have been rather the weakest era of the prime minister's office itself, because the real power resided somewhere else. It resided in the high command of UPA or high command of Congress. It was with Sonia Gandhi and company. And that is why Prime Minister's office had been very, very weak for these 10 years. Nonetheless, Manmohan Singh's achievement or legacy has been mainly with respect to the Indo-US or civil nuclear deal. Apart from that, there are landmark acts like the Mahatma Gandhi Narega Act that we talk about, the Right to Information Act that we talk about. They all came during Manmohan Singh's era. But not a lot of popularity or not a lot of connect with the poor people here. Again, in the UPA 2 era, we have seen a lot of scams. The Colgate scam, the 2G spectrum allocation scam, which eventually led to non-popularity of Manmohan Singh as a prime minister. Then came a momentous occasion in Indian politics, because for the first time in the history of Indian politics, a non-Congress party gained majority. In 2014 came the era of Narendra Modi. And there was a lot of enthusiasm. People expected change because 10 years of a UPA period had seen a lull. It had seen recession, multiple recessions. I'd say economic slowdown also to a large extent. And then came a lot of enthusiasm through Narendra Modi. But the question in front of us is, has he been a strong prime minister or a weak prime minister? In fact, has he been the weakest prime minister? Now, in terms of his strength, I'd say, look at the sheer numbers. For the first time in the history of Indian politics, a party gaining more than 272 seats. Great, great achievement. Not just once, but twice. 2014 also, 2019 also, right? But if we look at the parameter which we discussed at the beginning, what was the parameter? Has he connected with the poor people or not? If we look at Narendra Modi's 10 years, although 10 years have not been completed, but still he is going to complete 10 years and probably might get another term. So 15 years of Modi's rule, perhaps going into future. If we look at this particular time period of 10 to 15 years, I'd say 2 to 3 decades down the line, how would history judge Narendra Modi? That is the question here. Now, how would we judge him? What is Modi's legacy? As of now, as of today, the moment that we are talking, what will Modi be remembered for going in future? Will he be remembered for good things? Not in terms of numbers, but in terms of connect with poor people, but in terms of popularity among poor and marginalized people in India. What will he be remembered for? Will he be remembered for demonetization? When everything was going right, demonetization, it came as a catastrophe which eventually yielded almost nil results. Will he be remembered for corporatization? Will he be remembered as the weak prime minister who allowed corporates to do whatever they want? Will he be remembered as a prime minister when farm protests took place for 6 months and a prime minister allowed that to happen? So perhaps 2 decades down the line, he might be remembered for this, because as of today, I'd say the popularity, or in the US lingo, I'd say the rating of our own prime minister is at nadir. It is at the lowest. What will he be remembered for? Will he be remembered for Chinese aggression? What happened in Galwan? How did he respond to it? Will he be remembered for the utter mismanagement of COVID-19 pandemic and the response to it? How the government allowed for a huge second wave through which we are reeling right now. There is shortage of oxygen, there is shortage of medicine, there is shortage of vaccines in India. Will he be remembered for this? Will he be remembered for some empty rhetoric? Let me give you an example of this, because when the government came in 2014, there was a lot of zeal and enthusiasm among people that change will come. And a lot of promises did come of achhe din, good days to come ahead. One of the promises was, we are going to double the farm income by 2022. Has it really happened? The question is that. So, will he be only remembered for empty rhetoric or some sort of a result that has come? That is why the question at the beginning of our discussion, is he the weakest prime minister? Why? Because it is very paradoxical, isn't it? A prime minister with sheer numbers in Lok Sabha, but still very few results to show. That is why we call, is he a weakest prime minister? I am not the judge, you be the judge. Let me know in the comment section what are your thoughts about it. And it's very fine if you are a pro-Modi supporter or anti-Modi supporter, it doesn't matter. But from an objective point of view, has he connected with poor people? That is the question of this particular discussion. Now, on a counter side, now this seems just like a criticism, but let me give you an other side, right? Why would he be remembered? What would be Modi's legacy? People might say Modi has been the most resolute leader. He has been the most strong leader because he was able to abrogate Article 370. Now, in the longer run, I'd say that has it led to a solution? Although this abrogation of Article 370 did take place in 2019. But when we look at this particular event down the line in the history, the question still beckons in front of us that, was this a solution to the Jammu and Kashmir issue? Has the Kashmir issue been resolved, or has it led to more and more problems? Only time will tell what will happen here. But nonetheless, as of now, I'd say that it took a lot of guts for the government, because many of the governments before have failed to do this, to remove the special status of Jammu and Kashmir. The Modi government has done it, a short-term achievement for sure. But has it led to improvement of poor people in India? Has it emancipated the vulnerable sections in India? Has it led to improvement of women, children, the disabled people in India? That is the question that we are asking in this particular discussion. Apart from that, many people might also give one of the achievements as building temple in Ayodhya. I'd say this is also a very, very great achievement. In fact, it's a momentous occasion in the Indian society also. For this particular issue has been lingering for decades. I'd say right from the independence itself, and from the times of Rajiv Gandhi era, this issue has cropped up a lot. And this entire Ayodhya issue, it has led to the emergence of BJP as the single largest party, and today as the party of governance also. And so it's a great achievement that a temple is being built. But again, 2 decades down the line, 3 decades down the line, when I look at this particular incident in history, I'll still ask the question, did it lead to communal harmony in India? Is the issue of communal problem in India resolved by constructing this Ayodhya temple? Yes, it's a momentous occasion, but other issues are still coming up. The issue of Mathura is cropping up all of a sudden, right? Now, these things would be questioned again. And ultimately, the larger question is still there. Has this abrogation of Article 370, has the construction of Ayodhya temple, has it led to emancipation of poor people or not in India? Has it led to popularity of Prime Minister Narendra Modi? Is he be able to connect with the poor people or not? Because we started with a discussion that it is the collective interest which ultimately decides how people remember history, how popular memory, how popular consciousness of people is constructed. It is constructed on what basis? Is it constructed as a leader of pro-poor, or as a leader of pro-middle class and pro-upper class and pro-corporates? That is the question in front of us. Do let me know your thoughts on this particular discussion. That's it right now from my side. Thank you for watching. I hope this was intriguing for you. Jai Hind.